Itu Dokter Denny mau masuk ini, Mas? Halo?
Ikut kami masukkan, Dok.
persyaratan sebagai embriologis ini apa ya?
Sopo,
Ada
sopo.
perubahan atau gimana?
Kenapa?
Misalnya ini ada dokter umum, aku kan mau letakkan di Palembang, di Fahmi itu. Dokter umum, dokter androlog nih, si Fahmi itu. Androlog yang belum lulus sih, tapi dia orang Palembang. Nah, kebetulan dia balik lagi ke Palembang, dan aku tawarin kan.
Iya.
Kan bentar lagi mau ada kan setup.
Tetap supervisi, Pak.
Nah itu, dia itu.
Merahnya kedua. Wah, lu nampak terus duluan dengan sarung.
Udah mulai deh, Mah.
Hello, good morning, Paul.
Assalamualaikum, Pak.
Good morning, Ari. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Thank you. How are you?
How are you? I'm fine, thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Ari. Did you receive my slides in the email?
Yeah, I've got your slide in the email. Would you like to present by yourself or?
Yeah, I'm happy to present by myself.
Yep, we've got your slide.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Good morning, Paul. It's Danny.
Good morning.
Danny Paul. Okay.
Hi.
Apologize if we discuss mixed in English and Bahasa Indonesia. Since all the audience is Indonesian, I think maybe the presenter will mix between English and Indonesia. Do you mind?
Not at all. I completely understand, and I think this is absolutely appropriate.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Hello, Paul.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm so sorry. It was my battery stopped then. I couldn't join the discussion. Okay.
No problems.
Assalamualaikum, Dok.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ya, Ardian dari Semarang, Dok. Ya.
Waalaikumsalam, Dr. Ardian.
Mbak Dini, Assalamualaikum. Ya. Sehat semua? Sehat?
Alhamdulillah. Matur nuwun, Dr. Ardian.
Ini, Dok, ya. Dari kemarin udah tak panjer, Dok.
Nanti yang manjat dari kemarin ada bonusnya itu.
Iya, sertifikatnya 5 nanti sertifikatnya.
Alhamdulillah.
Iya, Dok, terima kasih, Dok. Ya.
Matur nuwun rawuhipun.
Dr. Zainal sehat, Dr. Zainal?
Alhamdulillah,
Ya,
alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah ya. Kapan
Luar
nanti
biasa.
ngaji lagi, Dok?
Saat ini kok libur.
Oh iya, Dok. Iya, Dok.
Ince.
Iya, banyak pas terus tuh, ndelala kok pas terus saya tanya, Dok, itu.
Mekaten nggih.
Injih, rasanya, Dok ya.
Masya
Tepat
Allah.
semua injih.
Masya Allah.
Alhamdulillah, Dok. Matur nuwun, Dok ya.
Iya, wassalam. Paul.
Assalamualaikum Pak Dr. Zainal.
Waalaikumsalam, Masya Allah.
Saya Bu Risa Sumenap.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah ditakdirkan bisa bergabung.
Subhanallah, Madura ini, Madura. Masya Allah. Kalau ngaso nginep itu nanti, Bu.
Iya tidur nginep.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
Nginep.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Mudah-mudahan bermanfaat.
Pak Dokter.
Ini nanti Ibu bisa mengacu ke surat Ad-Dzariyat 21. Ad-Dzariyat 21 ya.
Iya, Dok. Nanti ikut belajar lagi, Dok ya.
Masya Allah.
Ikut ngaji lagi, Dok. Alhamdulillah.
Nah, ini kan kita membaca diri kita sendiri, Pak.
Iya, betul. Luar sangat, Dok. Ya, luar sangat.
Semakin mantap.
Iya, Dok, betul. Tepat sekali, Dok. Alhamdulillah kok malaikatnya itu masih menuntun. Terus final nih pasti kok, alhamdulillah kok pas semua dilala.
Subhanallah. Based on physiological point of view, gitu.
Iya, luar biasa.
Alhamdulillah.
Betul sekali.
Alhamdulillah. Saya ini pernah diundang Bu Riza ini di Sumenep.
Alhamdulillah.
Ya, 10 tahun yang lalu ya, Bu?
20, Dok.
Masya
Nggak terasa. Sudah 20 tahun yang lalu.
Ya. Ketika saya pengelola diklat kabupaten, sekarang sedang di inspektorat, Dok.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
Tapi alhamdulillah sampai saat ini masih terjalin komunikasi ya, Dokter.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Jarang
Itu...
loh. Jarang ada narasumber sampai tersambung sampai sekarang, Pak Dokter.
Kalau itu nanti nyambung juga dengan materi hari ini, Bu.
Alhamdulillah, mudah-mudahan, Dokter.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Teman-teman yang lain ada yang ikut enggak?
Insya Allah.
Pak Muhammad? Pak Muhammad ada ikut?
Pak Nur Muhammad sudah pensiun, Pak Dokter.
Sudah pensiun. Salam saya.
Insya Allah, ya. Anak saya yang di Indonesia juga ikut, Pak Dokter.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Insya Allah banyak manfaatnya, Bu. Karena ilmu terus berkembang.
Iya.
Alhamdulillah. Paul, where are you now, Paul?
I'm in Edinburgh, and I'm in my home. The universities are still closed for COVID, so everyone is working from home at the moment.
Yeah, I studied in Innsbruck University, Paul.
Innsbruck.
Innsbruck. Das
lovely.
Das ist eine kleine schöne Stadt. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Did you enjoy your time in Germany?
Sprechen Sie Deutsch auch?
Not so well myself, although my mother is a Deutsches Lehrer. Deutsches Lehrerin.
So, das ist sehr interessant.
Ja.
Ja, ja.
Ya, Fir, masih baca Arab ya? Artinya saya hafal Quran. Ya, sih internasional.
Paul.
Yes.
Maybe in the meantime, during I give speech, I also give a special term in relating to Bahasa Indonesia, maybe, yeah?
Sorry, I didn't understand, sorry.
Maybe in the meantime, during I give speech, I also use in Bahasa Indonesia. a part of it.
Yes, that sounds good. Do you need me to do anything?
No. If I speak in bahasa Indonesia during or in the meantime during I give presentation, it doesn't matter for you. Okay.
No, of course, this is absolutely right.
Okay. And when are you going to Indonesia, Paul?
Hopefully this will be soon. There was a very kind invitation for this summer, which obviously would not have been possible with the global events. But I like to think that we'll be able to travel again soon. And yes, I would love to come and visit and see how the physical activity promotion in Indonesia is going. What we can learn from you.
Yeah, sounds great.
Selamat sore. Assalamualaikum.
Selamat sore, Bu Ernita. Waalaikumsalam.
Maaf, ini lagi bingung dengan latar belakang backgroundnya. Halo Paul, Dr. Paul.
Hello, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Mau coba latar belakangnya kok. Ya, lumayan udah ada. Hi Paul, how to spell your city? Edinburgh. Is that right?
Exactly, Edinburgh.
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 Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, I've been there before. 2011 maybe, yeah, if I'm not wrong. I have been there. We went with my daughter because my daughter was studying in Newcastle University. And
Wonderful.
then, yeah, we went to Edinburgh to try the afternoon tea.
Ah, lovely.
In one hotel close to the station.
Yes.
Went there by train 1 hour.
It's a very nice city. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, beautiful, very beautiful. I was just about 2 hours or around 3 hours there, and then went back to the Newcastle.
I hope you get to visit again soon.
Yes, hopefully. Thank you.
Selamat sore, Bu Ernita.
Sore, Pak. Apa kabar? Dokter Hardian, apa kabar?
Selamat sore, Dokter Ermita.
Sore.
Sore, Dokter Ermita.
Sore.
Gimana kabarnya?
Baik, sudah siap semua?
Selamat sore, Adrianta hadir.
Oh, selamat sore, Dok.
Rasa tresno asih yen ing tawang
lagunya itu
Dokter Ermita, mohon izin, apakah kita mulai saat ini, Dokter?
belum dibalasnya ya, sudah 5 kirim.
Mohon izin, Dokter Ermita.
Sore, Dokter Nisa.
Sore, Dokter.
Sore.
Assalamualaikum semua.
Apa kabar?
Baik, Dok.
Alhamdulillah bisa masuk.
Ya, beruntung menjadi bagian yang 300 orang ini. Dokter Hardian ini nggak ada mukanya. Dokter Hardian nggak punya mukanya, nggak boleh Dok. Harus punya muka di sini hadirnya.
Dokter Hardian suka sembunyi.
Iya, kita temu kangen ini ya. Ini nggak bisa.
Dalam muka ya.
Ya, ketemu muka, bukan cuman WA aja, Dok.
Iya, Dok. Dokter
Biasa.
Ermita cantik sekali, Dok.
Dokter Nisa dong.
Ah, Dokter Ermita cantik banget.
Nah.
Dokter sebenarnya ada physical activity ya, Dok.
Apanya?
Physical activity for mind and body relaxation. So we
Ya.
talk about healthy ya, Dok.
Dokter Ermita, mohon izin mau dimulai itu.
Oh, silakan, silakan.
Mohon izin, Dokter Ermita, untuk kami mulai, Dok.
Ya, silakan. Suaranya Dokter Rahmat agak digedein kali ya.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. We would like to welcome all of you in the International Physiological Society International Webinar Series number 3. First of all, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to all of our speakers and moderators, Dr. Paul Kelly, Dr. Adiarta, Dr. Zainal, and Dr. Denny. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to our speakers and moderators. We would also like to thank to Dr. Ermita Isfandiari Ibrahim Ilyas as the President of the Indonesian Physiological Society and Dr. Slamet as the President of the Indonesian Physiological Society Yogyakarta branch. Big round of applause to Dr. Ermita and Dr. Slamet as well. Okay, we proceed to the webinar. First of all, I'd like to present our schedule for today. First, we will listen to the Mars EIV. Then, Dr. Slamet and Dr. Ermita will give the opening speech. After that, we will move to the session 1 presented by Dr. Paul Kelly. Then, before we take a break, we will do a virtual Legong dance mob. It is a Bali traditional dance. Then we will start the session 2 at 3:40. This session will be presented by Dr. Adiarta. Then we will take a break to break our sitting time by doing virtual yoga mob. Then finally, we will move to the last but not least session presented by Dr. Zainal. So let's listen to the Mars EIV. Thank you for listening to the Mars EIEV. And then, ladies and gentlemen, please join me and welcome Dr. Slamet to give his opening speech.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, distinguished participants, and ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the International Webinar Series 3 with the topic Physical Activity for Mind and Body Relaxation. This webinar is one of the agendas of the Center of Indonesian Physiological Society, IPS, and today is a collaboration with IPS Jakarta region. This is very interesting topic. I hope also we hope to expand the deepen our knowledge and also talk about in physical activity and for mind and body relaxation. I think it's a very interesting topic to discuss in this afternoon. And also talk with the situation today in COVID-19 pandemic. I think it's very interesting how it talks about the correlation between activity, mind and body relaxation, and also immunity. I hope that will be a very warm discussion. Thank you for your all speaker, especially for our guest speaker, Dr. Paul. Thank you very much for University of Edinburgh. Thank you for being a speaker at the webinar this afternoon. In this webinar, I also hope the webinar to become a media for sharing information, knowledge, and also research in the field of the related topic that will be discussed in this afternoon. I hope for the future can also develop research collaboration among all of us. Finally, I hope I would like to ask thank to our speaker who were willing to give a presentation to this webinar. I hope this collaboration can enhance the development of the sciences. And also, the lastly, I hope Dr. Dr. Anita Eswandiri Ibrahim can open in this webinar this afternoon. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Slamet, for giving an opening speech. Then, ladies and gentlemen, please join with me and welcome Dr. Ermita to give the opening speech.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmad. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace to all of us. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And good morning for Dr. Paul in Edinburgh, England. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Allah for His approval that we can all gather together to attend the opening of the third webinar, International Webinar of Indonesian Physiological Society 2020. For our host today, Dr. Slamet Widianto from Faculty of Biology, Universitas Gadjah Mada, as the chairman of IPS branch Yogyakarta, and our dear moderator for this afternoon, Dr. Denny Agustiningsi from Department of Physiology Medical Faculty, Universitas Jakarta. Thank you very much to be host for the webinar this afternoon. In this good opportunity, I would like to welcome to our honorable speakers. First, Dr. Paul Kelly from Institute for Sport Physical Education and Health Sciences, the University of Edinburgh. Dr. Iputu Adiarte Griadi, Master Physiology from Department of Physiology Medical Faculty, Universitas Udayana. Dr. Zainal Mutakim, Sport Circulation AIFM from Department Physiology Medical Faculty, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Thank you to all of you for making this webinar as a great event for all of us. For Dr. Paul, thank you for your willing to spend your important time with us this afternoon for this webinar. And I would like to apologize since I will continue my speech in Bahasa Indonesia. Bapak, Ibu senior dan semua anggota EIV yang saya banggakan, serta seluruh peserta yang saya hormati, webinar kali ini adalah webinar seri 3 yang dilaksanakan oleh Ikatan Ahli Ilmu Faal Indonesia Pusat bekerjasama dengan Ikatan Ahli Ilmu Faal Indonesia Cabang Yogyakarta. Ikatan Ahli Ilmu Faal Indonesia atau EIV adalah organisasi ahli ilmu faal yang berasal dari berbagai perguruan tinggi dan instansi di seluruh Indonesia. Memiliki begitu banyak pakar di bidang fisiologi manusia, hewan, dan tumbuhan, sehingga kami pengurus pusat merasa penting agar para pakar yang berada di organisasi ini dapat digiatkan untuk ikut berperan membantu negara dan bangsa dalam meningkatkan daya tahan dan kesehatan sumber daya manusia, serta pemanfaatan sumber daya alam Indonesia, khususnya berbagai sumber daya alam dari berbagai daerah di Indonesia, melalui seri webinar yang merupakan media yang dapat kita manfaatkan seluas-luasnya selama masa stay at home ini, maupun setelah pandemi ini berlalu. Pandemi virus SARS-CoV-2 yang sangat menular ini tidak boleh dijadikan alasan untuk berdiam saja, namun situasi yang ada harus dimanfaatkan sebaik-baiknya dalam meningkatkan resilience atau ketangguhan kita sebagai manusia, bangsa, dengan tentunya tidak lupa memohon perlindungan dari Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Karena saya percaya tanpa izinnya, hal yang kita alami saat ini tidak akan pernah terjadi. Bapak Ibu yang saya banggakan, webinar kali ini dengan tema Physical Activity for Mind and Body Relaxation merupakan tema yang sangat menarik. Mengingat saat ini mungkin sebagian besar dari kita semua, disadari atau tidak disadari, sudah berada pada puncak kejenuhan. Sudah 5 bulan tinggal di rumah, ataupun bila keluar dengan sangat hati-hati dan was-was. Hal ini sangat mengganggu mental kita semua. Hanya keikhlasan yang prima yang dapat mengatasi masalah kejenuhan ini. Namun tidak semua orang mempunyai kemampuan ini. Oleh karena itu, 3 topik yang akan dipresentasikan merupakan upaya untuk membantu mengatasi atau mencegah timbulnya stres atau kejenuhan yang berat yang mungkin sudah terasa saat ini melalui aktivitas fisik yang benar dan sesuai. Semoga topik-topik bahasan yang disampaikan ini dapat memberikan manfaat kepada kita semua. Harapan saya melalui seminar virtual yang tetap digiatkan oleh pengurus pusat Ikatan Ahli Ilmu Faal Indonesia bekerjasama dengan EIV cabang, seluruh anggota EIV dapat tetap membina kerjasama untuk meningkatkan penelitian yang mutakhir dan terintegrasi terkait kesehatan dan sumber daya alam Indonesia demi ketahanan, kesehatan, dan kemaslahatan umat manusia. Akhirnya saya menyampaikan penghargaan yang setinggi-tingginya kepada host EIV cabang Yogyakarta atas kerjasamanya sehingga webinar ini dapat terlaksana. Terima kasih Pak Slamet, Dr. Denny, Prof. Puji, Pak Sarmin, dan Dr. Rahmat, serta beberapa yang lain yang tidak dapat saya sebutkan namanya satu persatu dari cabang Yogyakarta sehingga acara ini dapat berlangsung. Juga kepada kedua instruktur yang ikut memperagakan contoh aktivitas fisik yang bermanfaat kepada kita semua. Terima kasih, serta tak lupa kepada Mbak Rizka, admin PPIIV, terima kasih. Juga terima kasih kepada para senior dan rekan-rekan EIV yang ikut serta dalam webinar ini, dan kepada semua peserta tentunya. Semoga setelah webinar ini kita sudah cukup siap, tidak stres lagi, karena sudah mendapatkan cara untuk mengatasinya. Namun nampaknya memang kita semua belum dapat memperkirakan kapan pandemi ini akan selesai. Semoga kita semua selalu sehat dan dalam lindungan yang maha kuasa Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Amin wabillahi taufik wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Terima kasih.
Thank you, Dr. Ermita, for facilitating and opening the webinar. Before we move to the awaited session, let me present our code of conduct in this webinar.
Yang sifatnya teknis.
Let me present in bahasa Indonesia.
Kan tulisan yang
Yang
beragam, satu pakai tafama.
pertama, mohon peserta nanti dapat melakukan presensi yang akan dibagikan melalui chat di Zoom maupun di chat YouTube. Kemudian, selama pembicara membawakan materi, mohon mic dan audio peserta untuk di-mute, dan mohon peserta untuk menyalakan videonya. Kemudian nanti apabila selama speaker membawakan materi ada pertanyaan, silakan peserta dapat menuliskan pertanyaan melalui chat box Zoom atau chat box di YouTube Live dengan format nama peserta, garis bawah instansi, garis bawah pembicara yang dituju, kemudian pertanyaannya. Pertanyaan akan disaring oleh moderator dan nanti akan disampaikan oleh moderator kepada narasumber setelah pemaparan materi. Baik, let's move to the awaited session. All of the three sessions will be moderated by Dr. Denny. Her base is in the Department of Physiology, Faculty of Medicine, Public Health, and Nursing at Universitas Gadjah Mada. Her research interest is physiology and exercise physiology. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me and welcome Dr. Denny to start the webinar sessions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rahmat. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat siang, Bapak, Ibu senior, rekan-rekan sejawat. Salam sehat selalu untuk kita semua. Allow me to guide this webinar mixed in Indonesia and in English, because almost of the participant is Indonesian, so maybe I think it's easier for us to discuss in Indonesia, in bahasa Indonesia. Bapak Ibu senior dan rekan sejawat semua, siang ini kita akan mendengarkan paparan dari para pakar ya, dan kemudian kita akan berdiskusi bersama mengenai aktivitas fisik. Ya. Tentunya sebelum pandemi maupun apalagi di dalam situasi pandemi ini, kita selalu mengunggulkan aktivitas fisik. Dalam semua anjuran kampanye positif itu selalu dicantumkan adanya aktivitas fisik, tetapi di situ yang dicantumkan adalah aktivitas fisik untuk meningkatkan kebugaran, untuk menjaga atau meningkatkan sistem imun, bahkan untuk menjaga kesehatan mental. Nah, akan tetapi sesungguhnya seperti yang sudah kita ketahui bahwa aktivitas fisik itu cakupannya sangat luas sekali. Nah, di siang hari ini kita ingin melihat aktivitas fisik itu dari sisi yang lain, ya, yaitu untuk kepentingan relaksasi baik fisik maupun mental kita, seperti yang tadi sudah Dr. Ermita sampaikan. Jadi topik yang diangkat dari untuk webinar kali ini adalah physical activity for mind and body relaxation. Tujuan dari webinar ini adalah untuk memperluas wawasan kita dan untuk meluruskan bahwa melakukan physical activity itu tidak harus berkeringat. Nanti akan kita lihat bahwa physical activity itu ternyata sangat menyenangkan dan bisa berkaitan, bisa kita jadikan salah satu hobi yang bisa kita kerjakan setiap saatnya. Nah, Bapak Ibu senior dan rekan sejawat semua, ada 3 pembicara yang akan tampil di siang hari ini. Seperti yang tadi sudah disampaikan, yang pertama adalah Dr. Paul Kelly. Halo Paul, He is a lecturer in physical activity for health at University of Edinburgh. Edinburgh, yeah. He is based at the Physical Activity for Health Research Center. His current research focuses in increasing physical activity for physical and mental health. This evening, Paul will explain about the potential role of physical activity for prevent cabin fever during COVID-19 pandemic. And then the second speaker is Dr. Iputu Adiarta Griardi from Udayana University. This time, Dr. Adiarta will explain about Indonesian dances in helping improving mental health during COVID-19 pandemic. Topik ini sangat menarik sekali bagi kita karena kita tahu bahwa Indonesia itu kaya sekali akan budaya. Ya, jadi kita bisa mengangkat physical activity ini dari muatan lokal, dari kearifan lokal kita. And then the third speaker is Dr. Zainal Mutakin Sofro from Department of Physiology, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Dr. Zainal will explain about how mind-body exercise help in tackling mental health issues during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, because we will discuss about the physical activity, the advantage of physical activity, so we have to do some physical activity during this webinar session. Jadi nanti di antara break di antara dua pembicara kita akan melakukan physical activity bersama-sama. Yang pertama nanti kita akan melakukan physical activity bagian dari tari lekong sehingga nanti mungkin kita bisa terinspirasi dengan tari lekong ini untuk melakukan berbagai penelitian atau melakukan aktivitas fisik. Kemudian yang kedua nanti di antara dua pembicara kita akan melakukan physical activity yang bagian dari yoga. Kami berharap Bapak Ibu peserta webinar kali ini akan bersama-sama kita menikmati bagaimana melakukan physical activity 5 menit saja di sela-sela kesibukan yang kita lakukan. Oke, untuk tidak memperpanjang waktu, we welcome Paul to present his paper about the he present his paper in this afternoon. Paul, your time about 20 minutes. Paul, his research interest is in physical activity epidemiology, pragmatic evaluation in health promotion, measurement of health behaviors, walking, cycling, and active travel benefits. Okay, Paul, I think the time is yours. Please to present your paper.
Thank you, Dr. Benny. I will attempt to share my slides now with the audience. And hopefully you are now seeing my first slide. Dr. Denny, is that working?
Yeah, it's working. It's working. I can see it clearly.
Excellent. Okay, well, good morning from Edinburgh. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real privilege to be invited to speak to you today about physical activity and whether it has potential to prevent cabin fever during the COVID-19 pandemic. So a huge thank you to the Indonesian Physiology Society for this invitation, and a huge thank you to the organizing committee and the team that have put this together. So hopefully I can share some thoughts that will be stimulating and interesting for your organizations and your work in Indonesia. As was mentioned, I'm speaking to you today from Edinburgh. which is the capital of Scotland, in the north of the United Kingdom. It's quite a small city, nearly 500,000 people, but it has some lovely history and some very nice scenery and ancient buildings. And I hope that you get an opportunity to visit in the future when things have changed. I work at the University of Edinburgh, with a reasonably old institution, but not the oldest. And we're quite large, about 35,000 students normally each year. And this is a picture of the famous old college, one of the kind of center of our campus. I'm based in a research center in the university called PARC, which is the Physical Activity for Health Research Center. And you can see there the main research areas we have, and we're led by Professor Nanette Mutri. So she's our research center director, and she's an MBE. So this is an award from the government, from the Queen of England, to acknowledge the work that Nanette has done for physical activity promotion. As was mentioned by Dr. Denny, I have a number of specific interests around physical activity epidemiology, particularly interested in walking. I will talk about this on the day. I'm interested in measurement, and I'm interested in evaluation. So I thought I'd break the talk into 3 short parts today. Before we talk about the potential of physical activity to prevent cabin fever, I thought we'd look more broadly at the benefits of being active. So I'm just going to give you 10 or 15 seconds just to think about this question. What do you think is the best health benefit for people who are more physically active? I'm just going to give you 10 seconds to think about that on your own. Okay, I hope you have an answer. The answer I have is that there are many. And if you look at the 2018 Physical Activity Guidelines report from the United States of America, this is probably the most comprehensive report on the benefits of physical activity. You can see that there are many things. And the different benefits might be more important to different people, maybe by age or by gender or by health condition. The one that often gets spoken about the most is people who are more active have lower risk of all-cause mortality or longer life expectancy. And just a few weeks ago, we published a paper in the Lancet Global Health, which estimated that physical activity is preventing 3.9 million premature deaths every year. So almost 4 million deaths globally are prevented just by people being physically active. And what this means is, if we look at the work of Professor Ai-Min Lee from 2012, that means that physical activity is similar to smoking in terms of its global impact, in terms of its importance to health. In the paper that we published, we actually also looked at a country level, and you might be interested to see that in Indonesia, we showed that it was 177,000 premature deaths were prevented each year by the physical activity levels in your country. So this gives a sense of the importance of the behavior we're talking about. When I say premature deaths, I mean in the age range 40 to 74 years. So this doesn't count all of the benefits in people older than 74. However, when I was thinking about this question about cabin fever and COVID-19 pandemic, it was this benefit at the bottom, which I think is most important. The mental health benefits of physical activity, which I know the third speaker is going to talk about in more detail later. But this is where I start to think about the potential, part 2 of the presentation, preventing cabin fever. When you look in more detail at the mental health benefits of physical activity, there's strong evidence for better quality of life, reduced risk of developing depression, and reduced depressive symptoms, and reduced anxiety symptoms and state anxiety. So really important quality of life, well-being, and mental health benefits from being more active. A paper that I published about 2 years ago decided to look at this in more detail just for walking. So I think, and the reason I think this is important is because, you know, we talk about physical activity generally, but I think when we want to give guidance and recommendations to the public, we need to talk about specific behaviors that they can relate to and they can understand. So what we wanted to say was, you know, just we know that physical activity is good. How is walking? We did a scoping review and we found 60 studies mapped across 8 mental health outcomes, and it looked like this. So you can see that for depression, there was systematic review evidence, and for the other 7 outcomes, there was study level evidence. But it showed that for depression and anxiety, there's strong and consistent evidence that walking improves mental health, mental well-being. What you see is for other outcomes such as self-esteem, stress, subjective well-being, which is also could be called happiness, which I think is very important. I'll talk about this in a few minutes' time. There's also good evidence is starting to emerge. Interestingly, and I think relevant to COVID, there's no evidence yet for resilience. This seems to be an under-researched area. So for scientists and researchers out there, I think looking at the impact of walking or physical activity on resilience is a clear research priority. This is me. This is me walking in Edinburgh in the winter time. I don't know if this climate is similar to where you're sitting today, but I'm up there on the hill in nature with my pet dog, that's Monroe. And what I want you to think about is, how is this behavior improving my mental health? Just think about what might it be that is making me feel better, giving me better mental well-being. And then I'll show you another picture. And this is maybe the COVID situation now, the famous online exercise class. And again, what might it be about what this person is doing that will be beneficial for their mental well-being? And if we put those 2 images next to each other, do we think there are similarities in how the behavior is improving their mental well-being? And do we think there are any differences that might be important? You know, there's no kind of scenery and nature in the online exercise class, but maybe that person is now getting social contact that they've been denied for many weeks as a result of the lockdown restrictions. In the picture of me in the top left of the screen, you know, was it the physiological response of walking up the hill released, you know, endorphins or you know, these kind of chemicals that made me feel good, or was it that being up the hill meant that I was away from the stresses of work or life or these sorts of things? When you look at the mechanisms, there are many, and I think there's still a lot of work to be done to better understand the potential mechanisms. So I've got 9 potential mechanisms that were proposed by Dishman and Buckworth in 2013. And this is just for one condition. This is just for depression. So once you factor in all of these different mental health outcomes we've spoken about, it's going to be that there are complex mechanisms and pathways at play that will help us improve mental well-being and potentially deal with cabin fever. We looked at this again, this time in under 18s. So this is in children aged 5 to 18. And we found that the mechanisms could be nicely grouped into 3 categories for improved mental health. So the first one is the neurobiological. So this is the kind of the physiological effects of being active, creating pathways to better mental well-being. The psychosocial, so is it about your perceptions of yourself or the social connectedness that physical activity gives you? Or is it that the short-term mood benefits and emotions translate into longer-term well-being and mental health? And then finally, the behavioral hypothesis, which is that if you're more active, it can have positive effects on other behaviors, such as your sleep, or maybe your eating, or maybe your ability to regulate and cope with the stresses of COVID or the stresses of life. So I raise this because if we're going to think about how physical activity can help us deal with the COVID pandemic and the lockdown, then I think it's important to understand the different pathways that might be at play. Because if you look at the kind of dotted box on the left, the type of physical activity is important: frequency, intensity, duration, context. All of these things will have an impact on which pathways are utilized and the extent to which they're utilized. So I don't think we can just say physical activity is good. We need to think about the type of physical activity. Is it walking on the hill in Edinburgh, or is it the exercise class with social connectedness, or is it something else? So this brings me to part 3 of the talk. How can we help people to be more active to deal with the cabin fever? And does it matter what activities people do? So having reflected on what I've said so far, again, I'm just going to ask you to spend 10 seconds thinking, what activities would you do, what activities would you or do you recommend to promote well-being? Just have a think about what you would recommend to someone. So maybe some examples of things not to recommend. There's this famous in the Western countries, the UK, United States, etc. There's this idea that pain is weakness leaving the body, that exercise has to be about building muscles. And look at the face of the famous Arnold Schwarzenegger there. I don't think he's enjoying himself. If it's not hurting, it's not working. No pain, no gain. And also we have a show in the UK called Biggest Loser, where people are desperately trying to lose weight, and they make them do all these very painful and difficult and challenging things. And I watch this and I wonder, is this going to help us with cabin fever? Is this going to help us with mental well-being? Are people enjoying this? And I think the answer for me is no. When we think about physical activity, sport and exercise are just small parts of the total way that we can be active to improve our physical and mental health. And just examples, we can go swimming, we can do yoga, many examples. Gardening in the other box, can be a great way of getting that nature connectedness and that physical activity that makes us feel better. So I think for me, when we're trying to think of recommendations to help people be more active, it's about active living. It's not about going to the gym or hurting yourself or doing something painful. It's about doing something enjoyable that makes you feel good, that you want to do more of. So when we talk to professionals in the United Kingdom, sometimes this is doctors or physiotherapists or nurses, we use this kind of quote that it's not just good enough to say physical activity is good. We need to be able to start thinking about specific and relevant advice that speaks to people's motives for being active, or avoids their motives for not being active, i.e. going to the gym is painful and I don't like it. So we encourage people to think about different people and what their motives might be. And these are examples that I have from the United Kingdom. And I'm not going to tell you what the context of Indonesia is like, but I'd encourage you to see if you could translate these examples into an Indonesian context to understand people's motives. So if we think of this woman in the center here, there are many different reasons why she might be in that class. Maybe she wants to lose weight. Maybe she's been advised by her doctor. Maybe she promised her friend Jean that she'd meet her there. Maybe she's recovering from some health condition and she's motivated to stop it happening again. Maybe she just enjoys dancing to the music or likes getting out the house or enjoys the social contact. So it could be any of those motivations that's leading to that person doing that healthy behavior. She might just enjoy it. It might be fun. We have some grandparents with their grandchildren. And again, they might have a different set of motivations that's leading to them being out in the outdoors, playing and being active. I mentioned gardening earlier. And again, a different set of motivations again that we might need to speak to if we want to help encourage people to find the activities that are going to help them deal with cabin fever and improve their mental well-being. And of course, in Scotland, the weather can be a barrier, and sometimes the motivations are more logistical. But we need to understand these if we want to encourage more walking or cycling to help people be more healthy. And we need to remember that people can get negative motivations if we get our advice wrong, or if we don't think about these things from a positive point of view. So I think my take-home message, and something that we're really trying to promote in Scotland and the UK, is that health-enhancing physical activity does not have to be horrible or painful. Find out what your target group likes and enjoys, and think about a positive message that can speak to people's motivations to be more active. You may have heard of this company. I think they are excellent at speaking to people's motivations. Can you open a bottle of happiness? Now, my challenge to you is, can we do the same thing for physical activity? We know that physical activity is associated with happiness. Mentioned that at the start. So can we think about physical activity promotion, which is we don't mention coronary heart disease, or we don't mention all-cause mortality. We ask people, can you move for happiness? Can you be active to feel good? Because I believe that this would be helpful for our populations to feel more motivated. So finishing off, sort of 5 top tips based on what I've said. Avoid lycra. This is the gym kit that we use in the United Kingdom. I don't know if this translates into the Indonesian context, but most people don't like going to the gym. So instead, find out what they do like and try and encourage them to do that. Focus on the positives and follow up. Show people that you value, them and what they're doing. Don't just give them one piece of advice and then ignore them. I believe that talking about the mechanisms helps people understand why they're doing it. So it's okay to talk about psychosocial, or it's okay to talk about endorphins, or whatever it might be. It helps people understand that this will be good for them. And always encourage social support. I think cabin fever is related to isolation and these feelings, and physical activity, either online or in person, socially distanced, is a wonderful way to improve both motivation and mental well-being. So to summarize, the benefits of being active are multiple, but let's not forget about the psychological and the social. We don't just need to focus on the physical. When it comes to preventing cabin fever, I think there are multiple ways in which physical activity can do this, and there are multiple positive outcomes when it comes to mental well-being. How can we help people to be more active? Focus on the positives, focus on activities that they value, and draw attention to the mental well-being benefits with tailored advice for your target group. So I think that was just 20 minutes. So thank you very much for listening. I'm very happy to questions. If you want to email me about any of this, or if you want to connect on Twitter, that's the address there. So again, I finish by saying thank you very much for the invitation to speak to you today. I hope that was interesting, and I look forward to speaking again and collaborating in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Give applause for Paul for his very interesting presentation. I can get from Paul that physical activity for prevent cabin fever, we have to motivate the people. because this lockdown and very depressed when we have to work from home and also stay at home all the time. So when we motivate the people, we have to still we have to give attention in the important aspect of the physical activity is the type of physical activity. People not to have to be painful or exhausted to do physical activity, but he have to enjoy the physical activity to get more benefit from physical activity. That's why we hold this webinar, because we want open a bottle of happiness for all of the people in this country, because this COVID-19 pandemic. So Bapak Ibu sekalian, sebelum kita masuk kepada pembicara yang kedua, before we go to the second speaker, we take a break for 5 minutes to enjoy the physical activity in Indonesian dances, the lekong dances. So I think Mbak Astiti, I think you can start. You can support people for the lekong dances. Bapak Ibu, mari kita berpartisipasi dengan lekong tari lekong ini. Mbak Astiti, silahkan.
Hello. Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the time. Thank you for the time given to me. Before I continue, hello. Let me introduce myself. My name is Astiti. I'm one of the Balinese dancer in Bali. Especially I'm from Singaraja, Buleleng. Okay, now let me practicing the legong dance and let's follow me.
Oke, tepuk tangannya, monggo pernah dicondong.
The music is clear. You hear the music? Is the music is clear?
Putus-putus Mbak Dharma.
Yes, clear. Yes, clear.
Clear.
Okay, Mbak Astiti, time is enough, Mbak Astiti. Thank you. Okay.
Melelahkan juga ya.
Iya, makanya berkeringat juga kita dengan menari Bali ini. Paul, you can see for this dancer. Halo Paul. Ya, Bapak Ibu dengan menari Bali ini kita, Paul, you can see the dancer, Paul. Yeah, the dancer move all of her body and also her expression. So thank you, Mbak Astiti. Mungkin bisa di ini Pak Rahmat mungkin. Bapak Ibu, menari Bali ini, tari lekong ini ternyata merupakan bagian dari aktivitas fisik yang sangat bermanfaat untuk kesehatan. We will for the second speaker, we will find out the advantages of this Legong dances for physical and health, physical and mentally health for Dr. Adiarta from Dr. Adiarta Research. The second speaker is Dr. Adiarta. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mbak Astiti. Thanks a lot. It's very nice dancing. Yeah. Okay. It's quite enough for. Give applause. Big applause for the Mbak Astiti. Thank you, Mbak Astiti. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, di mute dia nggak tahu.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next we have the second speaker. Okay. Okay. The second speaker is Dr. Iputu Adiarta Grihardi, Magister Physiology from Department of Physiology, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Udayana, Bali. His research interest is in physiology and exercise physiology. To be honest, I very impressed for his research in Legong dances for one of the physical activity to increase the quality of life and well-being. Dr. Adiarta, the time is yours. It's about 20 minutes for your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Dani. Thank you for the committee that giving me the opportunity to share the research and the Balinese culture actually. Hello, Mr. Paul. Yeah, okay. Maybe in the previous session we have already seen how the Balinese dance doing the Legong dance, and every participant have already feel about the cardiovascular load about the activity, and yeah, it's quite tiring and give us a little bit of sweat, I think. Okay, the real duration of that dance is it's about 30 minutes, and it's quite a long dance. But nowadays, the people are just doing part of the whole dance, so they only do the dancing only for 10 or 15 minutes. Okay. Okay, I would like to share the presentation, and maybe this is the research that I have already been done, and maybe related to Paul's statement that we have to move from the theory into practice, and we have to find a way how to motivate people to become more active. And that has become our interest because the most problem in our country is how to make everybody being active. So from many literature that say in order to make some intervention to the community, we have to consider the local cultural and local content that could be developed into kind of a physical activity. So the community will feel more easy to do the things, and it's not something they don't know about, and then we find that maybe the answer is dancing. Okay, yeah, as we know that this pandemic has have a great impact on our mental health, and for the healthcare workers, more depression and more anxiety, more psychological distress, sleep quality becoming poor, and for general public, maybe lower psychological well-being. So being anxiety to go everywhere, and maybe cabin fevers, have to stay at home, and yeah, many new problems arise from this pandemic. I think we all agree about that one. And every institution giving recommendation how to build our mental health during this pandemic. And the same recommendation, every institution will put one or two statements that we have to become more active, and we have to do something that we enjoy. So that is the key that I want to address in this presentation, that then come up in my mind, that does it mean that we should dance? Yeah, because dancing is a physical activity and it's very enjoyable for the community to do that. So maybe dance is become the alternative in this pandemic situation. And based on our observation and current research, and we have to do some scientific evidence of Balinese dancing, and maybe it could be the alternative. Maybe we should dance to do the activity in this pandemic. So some of my research on this field is explorative research, because dancing in Bali and in Indonesia still everybody see that kind is an artistic things. Maybe we do that just for an artistic activity, and maybe nobody explore about the physical activity aspect of the dancing. Yeah, this activity is very usual in Bali. Yeah, so it's very usual in Bali, and every kids in Bali, not in the pandemic situation, will do this activity in groups. So they will dance, and in school, and in the dancing theater, and they do many things that actually that is physically active. And at the bottom left corner, we see that the people in Bali usually prepare for some activity in the social group. We call it banjar, prepare for the ceremony, and many activity. And things that we could see on this activity is everybody doing the fine motoric activity. So they make some offering from the coconut leaves, and they do many things that need a very skillful movement. And on the bottom right, we see how the kids in Bali play in groups. So I also remember that when I was a kid, that many of game that we do in group is actually a physical activity recommendation for kids. We do some jumping and rope jumping and many things that is the common activity in Bali and maybe in Indonesia. So seeing this condition, then we try to make some explorative research. Yeah, so we will try to see the dance and other physical activity from the exercise physiology perspective, because in general, maybe everybody see that activity as a dance, as an artistic activity. So maybe they see their sacred dance or entertainment dance, and they divided individual or group dance, man or female or male dance. But we can see that activity from other perspective, that is from the exercise physiology perspective. So from 2014, we start to explore about the Balinese dancing, especially woman Balinese dancing. And we found that the Balinese dancing has a low, mild to moderate activity, but most of them will be mild activity, mild intensity of aerobic activity. And then after that, we continue about doing the biomechanical research of the dancing to validate about the movement, and we have to make objective data or quantifying the movement of the dance. And then on 2019, we do the experiment. Then we try to make the dance to become a training program that doing 3 times a week, 30 minutes, by repeating the dance, just like the dance that demonstrated before, 30 minutes, and then we observe the result. So they are actually they are shift on our perspective on Balinese dance as an exercise. At the first of our study, we think and we try to find the aerobic activity of the dance, but actually there are no significant difference in aerobic capacity between the dancer and the non-dancer. And then it a big question for us that maybe the common knowledge that we know that the benefit of activities should be improve the aerobic capacity, but in the dance in some of our sample we cannot see the difference. And then Professor Wayan Dibyo, the professor in artistic in Bali dance, he said that the key of someone that doing dance is to become aware of every part of their body. Oh, so that is give us an enlightenment that so we find another things in dancing. In dancing that happen is everybody doing Balinese dance is try to control their every part of their body. It's such kind of a different part from the aerobic capacity that should be continuous and giving the cardiovascular load of activity. And the dancing is not a daily stance. It's a specific moment when he or she has do some specific stance, specific posture, and specific movement. So this is with the principle of training. So we have to do some training that is not a daily load of the activity, a training load of the activity. So this is then a shift our perspective that the Balinese dancing is not only train the cardiovascular organ system, but it will train the neuromuscular system. How the dancer control their body, and then it become or it will stimulate our nervous system, and there will be neuroplasticity in our nervous system. So and then we find the end of the study that the Balinese dance is not only improve the cardiorespiratory system, but it's also develop and improve our neurologic system. Okay, so this is the result of the first study of our dancing. That is another type of dance. So there is a Panjem Brahma dance, Sekar Jagat dance, and Cendrawasih, and a different load for each of the dance. And then the second one, we do the biomechanical research to analyze the movement of the dancer, just like the previous dance we have seen in the demonstration. So we're using the IP mocap studio, that is a markerless movement analysis. So we can then find an objective data of the movement, or maybe I call it how can we quantifying the movement of a dancer. So by analyzing of this movement, we can see that every part of body of the dancer will be moved, and we find the objective data, this one. So this is one of the many of the data that we collect from this analysis, and we see that during a dancer doing balance dance, they will keep their body in a semi-squat position. And I think this will be very hard if we are not trained well or trained dance since earlier. So they have to maintain this position long she dance the ballinist dance. So this is the ballinist say this is the nerd position, semi-squat position. And by this biomechanical analysis, we can see that it is a proof that the ballinist dancing will train the muscle of our hip and our lower limb. And then next year, in the next year, we do the same analysis for male dance. So that is for the baris dance. We can also see and we can do the analysis doing the along the movement of the dancer, and we find a different type of muscular training on the male dance in Bali. So in this case, baris dance. So the dancer will be in an upright position, will be different with the female dancer, will be keep their position in the semi-squat position, and the male dance will keep the position in the straight way. So they are not bending their knee and in semi-squat position, but they will train the upper limb more intensively in baris dance. So that is the difference from the male and female dance in Bali. And then the result of our research, the second research, we then conclude that for female dance, legong dance, for example, the dancer will keep to hyperextension their chest and in semi-squat position and doing a very many of fine motoric movements. So as you can see on the demonstration, there are eye movement, yeah, and then the finger will be moved in the fine movement. Okay, and in the male dance, for this example, this baris dance, they will keep the position in the upright position and only move the lower extremity. And then the last experiment, we do the experiment just as I said before, that we make the legong dance as a modality of training. For one group, they dance 3 times a week for 30 minutes every training session. So they are doing the balance dance, legong, kraton dance. And this is the result. We compare this, the effect of this training compared to the aerobic training, the regular one, the jogging and running. So we can see that the balance dance, especially legong dance, will improve the balance. Yeah, as we know that balance is a function of neuromotoric control, and they improve the cardiorespiratory capacity, the muscle strength, and muscle endurance. So the legong dance group will be superior in balance improvement, and the aerobic group will be superior in the cardiorespiratory improvement. And then for the proof of the neuroplasticity that happened in the dance group, we also measure the brain-derived neurotrophic factor in the plasma, in the blood plasma, and we see that the improvement is better in dance group compared to the aerobic group. So the elevation of the BDNF, we know that on aerobic group, it elevated because of the demand of metabolic demand of the neurologic system. But in the dance group, the BDNF is elevated caused by the training of fine motoric movement. So in dance group, the control of movement will occur on the higher level rather than the aerobic group. So on the dance group, the control of movement will will be controlled from the medulla spinalis into the brainstem and into the cortical level. So the mechanism of the elevation of BDNF in dance group.
Waktunya 3 menit lagi ya, Dr. Adriata.
And other aspect of Balinese dance related to the mental health. So in psychological and emotional aspect, there are so many symbolization in our dance. Yeah, there are many folk story with many values, and they do the dance in a group. So it will build the mental health for the Balinese. And as you can see that in this screen, there are kecak dance, the other famous dance in Bali. They're doing the dance in group, and they are social therapy that exists among the dancer. They will talk each other about their problem and so on and so on. So this is actually give the social therapy for the dancer. And by putting that on the mental health component, so the social well-being will be achieved by doing that activity in group, and psychological and emotional well-being can be achieved by doing some artistic activity, by many symbolization, by many artistic dressing that will release the stress from the dancer. Okay, so mental health is really affected during the pandemic, and traditional dance and Balinese traditional dance have improved physical activity and neuroplasticity and have potential to improve our mental health. But the question is, we need to find a way to provide this activity at home. So everybody should do this individually, and maybe that is the challenge for this condition. Okay, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you. I hope that this information will be useful for every of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adiarta. Give a big applause for Dr. Adiarta. Ya, Bapak Ibu tadi sudah merasakan sendiri bagaimana menari legong selama 5 menit. It's very tiring, tetapi ternyata dampaknya juga cukup banyak dengan berbagai gerakan badan, kemudian perubahan ekspresi di wajah. Ini ternyata bisa meningkatkan kapasitas fisik meskipun tidak begitu banyak, jadi tetap kita harus berolahraga. Akan tapi yang perlu kita ingat berkaitan dengan mental health adalah karena tadi terbukti meningkatkan BDNF, artinya untuk cabin fever, ansietas, depresi ini pasti akan menurun. Dan juga adanya simbolisasi tadi yang bisa melepaskan emosi dan juga meningkatkan emotional and psychosocial well-being. Nah, mungkin ini menjadi tantangan kita ke depan, bagaimana kita melakukan penelitian-penelitian lebih lanjut untuk bisa mengimplementasi gerakan-gerakan dalam tari legong ini untuk menjadi gerakan-gerakan yang bisa kita lakukan sehari-hari di rumah sebagai alternatif untuk melakukan aktivitas fisik yang menyenangkan. Sekali lagi bisa membuka a bottle of happiness tadi seperti yang Paul sampaikan. Nah, Bapak Ibu, kita sudah membicarakan tentang legong. Maka sebelum kita masuk kepada pembicara yang ketiga, kita akan istirahat sejenak, mungkin 3-5 menit saja kita akan melakukan yoga. Ya, jadi yoga ini sekarang juga menjadi alternatif aktivitas fisik yang juga cukup menyenangkan dan mudah dilakukan di rumah. Di YouTube banyak sekali, kita tinggal memilih. Nah, sekarang kita mau memilih yoga yang seperti apa atau gerakan yoga itu sebetulnya berefek apa terhadap kesehatan tubuh kita. Monggo Mbak Iva silahkan untuk menyampaikan, untuk mengajak Bapak Ibu istirahat sejenak, melakukan yoga selama 3-5 menit. Monggo saya persilahkan waktunya.
Terima kasih Dr. Deni. Sudahkah masuk suara saya, Dok?
Sudah, ya.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Iva. I'm a magister student at Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Allow me to deliver this ice-breaking session with bahasa. Selamat sore, rekan-rekan semua. Pada kesempatan kali ini, sebelum kita melanjutkan ke sesi selanjutnya, kita akan bersama-sama melakukan gerakan-gerakan yoga sederhana yang bisa dilakukan hanya dengan di atas kursi saja. Yoga at your desk ini sangatlah tepat untuk dilakukan bagi siapapun yang sering menghabiskan waktu di depan komputer ataupun di dalam kubik pada aktivitas sehari-harinya. Sebagai salah satu bentuk untuk recharge ourselves, mari kita sama-sama melakukan gerakan yoga sederhana. Pertama, duduk agak maju ke sisi depan kursi Anda. Duduk agak maju ke depan, kemudian letakkan tangan di atas kaki. Telapak kaki menekan ke arah lantai. Telapak kaki menekan ke arah lantai. Kemudian tarik napas yang dalam, inhale. Keluarkan perlahan, exhale. Satu hal yang penting dalam yoga adalah pernapasan. Setiap gerakan yoga harus selalu diikuti oleh pernapasan. Tarik napas yang dalam melalui hidung, inhale. Kemudian exhale, lepaskan perlahan. Jika dirasa napas Anda kurang dalam, maka coba tekankan lidah Anda ke langit-langit mulut. Kemudian coba tarik napas lagi yang dalam, inhale. Exhale, keluarkan lagi lewat hidung. Lalu jatuhkan dagu ke arah dada. Sambil tetap terus tarik nafas yang dalam. Exhale. Kepala dianggukkan perlahan. Inhale. And exhale. Kita gelengkan kepala ke kanan dan ke kiri. Tarik nafas yang dalam. Keluarkan perlahan. Exhale. Duduk dengan tegak dan nyaman. Tarik nafas dalam. Inhale. And exhale. Lalu kita putarkan, buat lingkaran dengan hidung kita. Putar kepala ke satu arah. Tarik nafas dalam. Kemudian ke arah selanjutnya. Keluarkan perlahan. Tarik nafas dalam. Keluarkan perlahan. Selanjutnya, kita coba gerakkan bahu kita. Ke belakang. Tarik nafas dalam. Putar ke belakang bahunya. Rasakan kenyamanannya. Keluarkan nafas perlahan melalui hidung. Tarik nafas yang dalam. Kemudian kita letakkan tangan kanan kita di bagian luar kaki kiri. Kemudian tangan kiri di bagian belakang kursi. For a gentle twist, tarik nafas yang dalam. Inhale. Anda juga bisa meletakkan tangan di sisi meja jika ada meja di depan Anda. Dan exhale. Tarik nafas yang dalam, inhale. And exhale. Kita lakukan untuk sisi sebelahnya. Tangan kiri di bagian luar kaki kanan. Tangan kanan di bagian belakang kursi. Lakukan twist ringan, rasakan putaran di badan Anda. Tarik nafas yang dalam, inhale. And exhale. Satu kali lagi tarik nafas yang dalam. Keluarkan. Release and back to the center. Sekarang Kita lakukan sedikit peregangan, agak mundur di kursi belakang bagian Anda, agak mundur ke belakang. Letakkan tangan kiri di sisi kursi, kemudian tangan kanan ke atas melewati jauh. Capai sejauh-jauhnya, lakukan regangan stretch. Rasakan regangan. Keluarkan. For a deeper stretch, letakkan tangan kiri di sisi kanan kursi. Kemudian tarik lagi sejauh mungkin tangan kanan sebisanya. Inhale. Kita lakukan untuk sisi yang selanjutnya. Tangan kanan di sisi kanan kursi. Tangan kiri kita angkat ke atas dan lakukan tarikan itu. Tarik nafas dalam, rasakan tarikan dan regangan di bagian sisi kiri tubuh. Keluarkan perlahan. For a deeper stretch, letakkan tangan kanan di sisi kiri kursi. Tarik lagi sejauh mungkin. Inhale. And exhale. Release. Tarik nafas yang dalam. Kemudian sekarang agak maju lagi dari kursi. Kita berikan sedikit ruang di kursi Anda. Diberikan sedikit ruang, lalu kita tautkan jari-jari kanan dan kiri di belakang badan kita. Ditautkan. Kemudian buka dada Anda, turunkan bahu, tengadahkan kepala, tarik nafas yang dalam. Inhale. And exhale. Buka lagi dadanya, turunkan bahunya, inhale and exhale. Release and back to the center. Sambil tetap ditautkan, kita coba bungkukkan perlahan badan kita. Bungkukkan perlahan badan kita, tarik nafas yang dalam. Kemudian inhale and exhale. Kemudian kita luruskan tangan kita. Letakkan tangan kanan di bawah tangan kiri, lalu pertemukan telapak keduanya. Pertemukan telapak keduanya, angkat siku, tarik nafas yang dalam, pertemukan telapak. Agak melintir memang, sebisanya saja, tarik siku ke atas. Kemudian tarik nafas dalam, akan terasa tarikan di bagian bahu belakang. Inhale, and exhale. Untuk sisi selanjutnya, sebaliknya, bawa tangan kiri di bawah kaki tangan kanan, letakkan temukan telapak, angkat siku, inhale, and exhale. Lepaskan perlahan. Lalu silangkan kaki kanan ke atas kaki kiri Anda. Pergelangan kaki kanan di atas kaki kiri, kemudian kita putar perlahan. Putar perlahan, lalu kita bungkukkan badan kita. Sambil tarik nafas dalam, pegang kaki kiri, punggung kaki kiri dipegang dengan tangan kiri, tangan kanan diletakkan di atas paha kanan. Bungkukkan sebisanya, rasakan tarikan di paha sebelah kanan. Inhale and exhale. Release. Kita lakukan untuk sisi yang selanjutnya. Diputar pergelangannya, kemudian bungkukkan badannya. Kali ini akan dirasa tarikan di paha sebelah kiri. Inhale and exhale. Tarik nafas yang dalam sekali lagi. Lepas. Istirahatkan sejenak, tengadahkan tangan ke atas, tarik nafas yang dalam, and exhale. Today is a good day. Tarik nafas yang dalam, little yoga, Sekian, semoga bermanfaat. Saya kembalikan kepada Dr. Denny. Mohon maaf atas segala kekurangan. Selamat sore.
Selamat sore. Big applause. Ya. Big applause untuk Mbak Iva. Ya, terima kasih Mbak Iva. Ya. Bapak Ibu, ini tadi kita sudah merasakan bagaimana kita harus menarik nafas dalam dan membuang nafas dalam-dalam. Setelah ini Dr. Zainal akan membahas mengapa apa sih efeknya terhadap fisiologi tubuh kita dengan melakukan pola pernafasan tadi dan melakukan beberapa gerakan yoga. Ya. Jadi Dr. The third speaker is Dr. Zainal Mutakin from Department of Physiology, Universitas Gadjah Mada. His research interests in exercise physiology, psychosocial-spiritual physiology, and also autonomic nervous system physiology. Waktu saya persilahkan, monggo Dr. Zainal, 20 menit. Dr. Zainal, apakah sudah bergabung?
Concerning the autonomic nervous system and also body-mind exercise.
Mohon maaf, Dr. Zainal, slide-nya belum keluar.
Okay.
Ya, sudah, monggo, sudah. Oke, silahkan.
Thank you very much. This topic is how mind-body exercise help in tackling mental health issues during the COVID-19 pandemic. A perspective from the autonomic nervous system. We know that almost 90% in our activity, we are not aware, or unconsciousness. So before starting our presentation, we'd better know what the composition in our brain. The first is reptilian brain, the second is paleocortex, and the last is neocortex. Very interesting in our life, even though we are never aware about reptilian brains, but the reptilian brain is very important in our daily living, because in the reptilian brains, it is called also the brainstem. There are two nuclei. The first is dorsal motor nucleus, which where the vagus nerve is original. So would you please to move the next slide? I think it's better to move the next slide, Dr. Ahmad. Previously, when we were in Faculty of Medicine, we have thought that the autonomic nervous system only divided into two subsystems. The first is sympathetic nervous system, and the other is parasympathetic nervous system. It is like a battle or a pair antagonism. If we still learn about the autonomic nervous system like that, so we cannot explain what Paul explains, and also how dance that we have done. Because the behavior, our behavior is determined by the autonomic nervous system. Based on what Professor Porges articulates, that the autonomic system not only divided into two subsystems, but we should make a new model. It is called hierarchical system, such as the slides as we look at this. So the first is parasympathetic. Yeah, it is called also shutdown circuits, and the second is sympathetic, as we have known, fight or flight response, and the last is social nervous system. Why we should call social nervous system? Because actually this nerve is also parasympathetic nervous system, but the vagus here is myelinated nervous. So the impulse will runs very fast. Yeah. So based on this knowledge, based on the new knowledge, the autonomic system not only as we have known before, only sympathetic and parasympathetic, but we can divide it into three subsystems. The first is parasympathetic, but vagus over there is myelinated nervous vagus. And the last is parasympathetic. This is called also old vagus. There is an myelin in the nerve. So we should differentiate both of the vagus nerve. The first is myelinated vagus nerve or supradiaphragmatic vagus, and the second is the unmyelinated vagus nerve or subdiaphragmatic vagus nerve. Yeah, I think this term is very important because during movement, sometimes we also influence our diaphragm. Yeah, that's why we should differentiate vagus nerve. The first is supradiaphragmatic vagus, and the second is subdiaphragmatic vagus. By learning this division, we should also learn that the social nervous system is very important in our health because this nerve has responsibility to health, growth, and also restoration. And the other subsystem of the autonomic nervous system for defense. So in this division, it is very interesting because the impact of pandemic, yeah, as Paul said or mentioned before, many people may suffering depression, yeah, or even suicide maybe, yeah, and also in bahasa Indonesia we can also, yeah, so stressful, I think, yeah. So we should divide the autonomic nervous system in practice. The first is social nervous system for social engagement, and the other is defense system. Yeah. So by doing exercise, we hope we can change from defense into social engagement system. Unfortunately, we have ever heard that we should be social distancing. I think it's very dangerous for our health because we must always make social engagement, yeah, or always make social relation, yeah, such as Paul from Edinburgh, yeah, it's very far distance. We able to continue discussion, we can able to communication, even the distance is very far. Okay. In this slide, we can see that if the shift from left to right, it would be dissolution. This is a very, very dangerous because it can affect our body. Yeah, it's very, very negative. Yeah, it is not the same if we can try to shift from right to left. It is called solution. Yeah. So if we do exercise, if we do dance, or we do something like yoga, yeah, that's mean we try to move from the right side to the left sides. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, in this slide, we have learned that the autonomic nervous system previously divided into two subsystems, but now our knowledge becomes make a new model. It is called hierarchical model. Yeah. So based on the polyphagal states, the autonomic nervous system can be divided into three parts. The first is myelinated or supradiaphragmatic vagus, and the second is sympathetic nervous system. As we know that sympathetic nervous system is relating to stress condition or HPA axis, and the last is unmyelinated vagus, or we call it subdiaphragmatic vagus. The next, please. Okay, so actually in our daily living, we always receive some signal. This signal can trigger our body and we will react if the environment is safe condition. So we react by social engagement. But if the environment give a signal danger, so we will respond by fight or flight. And the last is maybe we are quite often to think this condition, if the condition life-threatening, so our body will respond by behavior or shutdown behavior. Okay, so if we do exercise, actually we will move from shutdown behavior to fight or flight behavior until we can achieve social engagement. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is one of the model to measure if we know whether our condition in normal condition or sympathetic dominant or shutdown circuit. Yeah, it is called Shalom test. Yeah, by measuring our blood pressure and heart rate. Yeah, we will know whether our condition is normal or sympathetic dominant or vasovagal reaction. The first step is we ask for the patient to lie down position or supine position. During 5 minutes, we will record blood pressure and heart rate, yeah, and then we will take the average number with the systolic blood pressure and heart rate as a baseline to as we will compare with when we were upright position. So in upright position, we need a data 7 minutes, blood pressure and heart rate, and then we compare with baseline. So the delta can show us whether our in normal condition or hypersympathetic or vasovagal reaction. The next, please. Okay. Okay. By knowing this, the autonomic nervous system divides into 3 parts. So we always try to be in myelinated vagus states, because if we able to be in myelinated vagus states, so there is no clinical disturbance. It is different if we in fight or flight states. The symptoms may be hyperacusis, hypertension, gut problems, anxiety disorder, or drug abuse. And our behavior becomes fight or flights, hyperarousal, hypervigilance, avoidance, oppositional behavior, social withdrawal, affect limitations, and also self-medication. And the last is unmyelinated vagus. The response or the behavior, it would be immobilization, behavioral shutdown, dissociative states, risk of suicides. So by knowing this model, every activities should influence our vagus nerve. The next, please. Okay. Because supradiaphragmatic vagus will inhibit sympathetic nervous system. So many activities that we have done, such as walking, and then dancing, and also yoga. Also, religional practice, such as praying, chanting, all of those is influenced to supradiaphragmatic vagus. Furthermore, supradiaphragmatic vagus will dampen sympathetic nervous system and also HPA axis, and also make between sympathetic and parasympathetic well function. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is, for example, if we communicate with others, we always smile like Paul, we always smile everywhere, because the vagus nerve also linked with muscle in our heads, such as face when our smile, when our singing, and also when our listening. So the vagus nerve is very unique for the mammalian, because not only vagus nerve, but also in the brainstem, the vagus nerve links with our head. So the next, please.
Waktunya 3 menit lagi, Dr.
Thank you
Zainal.
very much, Budeni. So in conclusion, the posture, when we bend our diaphragm, will influence, and vocalization, breathing, all of those activities will activate vagus nerve, and furthermore, vagus nerve will affect to our health, growth, and restoration. Thank you very much, Budeni.
Thank you, Dr. Zainal. Thanks a lot for give big applause for Dr. Zainal. Okay, from Dr. Zainal explanation, we have one more lesson that the physical activity principle is not to have to be painful, exhausted, or sweat a lot, but we can activate the vagus nerve, especially the myelinated vagus nerve that with maybe singing, posture, or like when we do yoga or dancing, we can activate the supradiaphragmatic vagus. Then will make us happier and friendly, and also a low profile person. That's why we can open a battle of happiness more. Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Zainal,
Welcome.
Dr. Paul, and Dr. Adiarta. Now we open for the discussion. I have two questions for participants. One question for Paul, Dr. Paul Kelly. Paul, are you monitor?
Yeah,
Hello?
I'm happy to try and answer.
Okay. The question is from Baldi Anggara from Palembang State Islamic University. He asked about what is the right way to express body movements to always feel relaxed anytime and anywhere with this pandemic situation. Okay.
It's a great question. My personal feelings are that it is to focus on movements which are enjoyable, and I think this relates to the excellent speakers that just came after me. So I think focus on enjoyable movement that feels good, and when it's possible, explain to people how these movements make them feel good. I believe that when people have an understanding of how something benefits them, it adds value and it adds confidence and it adds self-efficacy to do these things. So number one, focus on enjoyment. Number two, when it's possible, explain how it leads to enjoyment.
Okay, always joy everywhere and anytime. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Paul, for your answer. It's very interesting, and we can do anytime. And then the second question from Herlin Ajeng, Unisula Faculty of Medicine, for Dr. Adiarta. Dr. Adiarta, is there any difference between traditional dance and modern dance in for the effect to the mental health?
Okay. Yeah, the traditional dance and the modern dance. Yeah, from my opinion, that traditional dance was built from society, and it has already been built many years ago. So the traditional or cultural dance will contain many values that is important for that society. So such as in Indonesia, that we know that maybe in Aceh, we know there are Saman dance. They have a history of how that dance was born, yeah, to help people to do, to work together and to bond, to make relationship more stronger, and do something with gotong royong, or doing something together. That is the value of cultural dance. Maybe that is for the Saman dance. And for the Balinese dance, there are several kind of dancing. For the sacred dance, there are many spiritual value that someone has to understand before they do the dancing. And there are also entertainment dance. There are not much sacred value, just to entertain people. And maybe there are also dance between that type of dancing. There's some value that is should be implemented when we do the social activity. That is the characteristic of the cultural or traditional dance. And modern dance, yeah, so the modern society, maybe correct me if I am wrong, that the base is freedom and freedom to speech and freedom to express, do some expression, and maybe democratic value. In that way, different value was as a base of building that dance. And if we compare the two type of values, maybe the time will show us which value is better than. So if we know that the dancing was developed maybe 100 years ago, and then until now it still be doing by people, and then there are some of modern dance that just built maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and then just gone, and nobody dance that kind of dancing. Maybe we should choose that the traditional or the cultural value, because that is a long lasting value that needed by the society to keep stronger and survive along the time. And in this pandemic, after we get our condition is healthy, and then doing exercise to become fit, and the next level that help us to survive in this pandemic is the wellness. When we achieve the condition of wellness, as Dr. Sainal said, there are many unexplainable mechanisms that help us to become survive. Because in this pandemic, we just, maybe it's harder than nuclear bomb, that we have to stay at home, and we never see this kind of situation. So maybe then I think that what is the wellness for? Maybe now is the answer. Then when we achieve the wellness condition, we will survive. And the wellness condition is more than just health. And we need some value. We need some support from the environment. We need some support from the social, and we need many unscientific things that we never been thinking about. So my opinion is maybe we have to explore the value of the cultural dance, and we implemented that value for today, and maybe we can survive from this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Radiata. Maybe this is a challenge for us and Physiology Society in Indonesia to collaborate some research about these traditional dances. We have a lot of traditional dances from Sabang to Merauke, with a different movement, with a different song to sing. So maybe we have to collaborate and to explore the benefit of the traditional dances in Indonesia to increase mentally and physically health. And then we can implement, or we can make some new perspective for the dancing to in this situation, in this pandemic situation. Yeah. It's very interesting, Dr. Adiarta. And the last question for Dr. Zainal. Dr. Zainal, there's a question from, I have no name here, but the question is cycling with a static cycle, a static ergo cycle maybe, can dampen, effectively dampen the sympathetic nerve system and can increase the happiness?
Okay, thank you very much for a great question. Yeah, we know that in physical activity, we should always consider about the fit principles: frequency, intensity, time, and type. Yeah. During cycling, in static cycling, we should do this exercise in not high intensity, but moderate intensity. Yeah, because if we do exercise until we undergoes overtrain, of course the vagus nerves will be sabotaged by the sympathetic nervous system. Yeah, in the nature, vagus nerve, supradiaphragmatic vagus, must have function to dampen the sympathetic nervous system. Yeah, even when you eat over, yeah, to satiety, yeah. So the oxygen from brain will sabotage by the unmyelinated nervous system. So please do exercise in moderate if you would like to activate vagus nerve. If you do exercise until overtrain, that means that vagus nerve not function anymore. Okay, so the what happened in our body? So there is imbalance between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. That means subdiaphragmatic vagus will also disturbed by overtraining. So fit principle we should always keep in mind, yeah, especially the intensity, yeah, the intensity. If we would like to activate vagus nerve, so we keep in moderate exercise. Is that right, Paul? Yeah,
100% agree.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Ik dank Ihnen voor Ihre compliment.
Okay, thank you for all the speaker. I think because now is already 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I think we move to the end of this webinar. We have a lot of learn from this webinar, but we have to keep in mind that when we do physical activity, we not to have to be painful, exhausted, or sweat a lot, and also the physical activity is when we do physical activity, we still have to do exercise 3 to 5 times a week. The physical activity like yoga, like dancing, what we have done here is to add to give more benefit from this physical activity, but exercise with FITT, like Dr. Zainal said before, is still important to do in 3 to 5 times a week. So I think that what we get from this discussion this afternoon. Thank you for Paul, and we wait for you after this COVID season is over. We wait for you to go to Indonesia and we can collaborate some research in exercise physiology. Thank you for Dr. Adiarta and Dr. Zainal, and also for all of the participants. I hope this webinar get broadening our knowledge and maybe give some idea for the research elaboration in the future. Thank you very much for all the participants and for all the speakers. Give big applause for us. Yeah. And we close this with Alhamdulillah. Thank
Terima kasih
you.
Dr. Deni.
Terima kasih semuanya. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih.
Thank you, Paul.
Ya, terima kasih Dr. Zainal. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. See you.
Foto bersama dulu, Ibu.
Oh, foto bersama. Oke.
Iya. Jadi narasumbernya jangan ini.
Ke
grup nanti, Pak.
Masih
Paul,
Dr.
we get
Yeah.
photograph together.
Yeah.
Take photograph. Oke. Boleh dibuka sebagai tile ya. 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 Oke. Mana aba-abanya siapa?
Salam olahraga. Narasumbernya mana?
Ini narasumbernya. Oke,
Ya.
siap. Sudah?
Siap.
Siapa
Sudah.
aba-abanya?
Oke, 1, 2, 3. Baru 1. Tahan. 1, 2, 3. Tahan. Satu, 2, 3. Tahan.
Saya juga nanya, Bu.
Ya. 1, 2, 3. Ya, sudah. Ya.
Oke, thank you.
Oke.
Saya juga mau
Ibu.
foto.
Terima kasih semua panitia.
Pak Dokter, kirim ke grup WA dong. Masukin kami dong.
Oke. Nanti akan dikirim ke peserta oleh panitia.
Terima kasih Dr. Zainal. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih semua kepada narasumber, panitia.
Dr. Deni.
Matur nuwun, Dr. Hadi.
Terima
kasih, Prof. Dokter.
Terima kasih, Dr. Deni.
Narasumber, panitia.
Terima kasih narasumber yang luar biasa.
Ya, sampai ketemu di webinar selanjutnya.
Sampai ketemu.
Terima kasih, dokter.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Dokter Ermita.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Izin live dulu ya. Izin live.
Izin live.
Terima kasih.
Izin live juga, Ibu.
Ini kalau YouTube-nya langsung di close nggak apa-apa kan ya Mas Nabil?